Hey everybody, I'm Scott Wikle. You're listening to My Kind of Country. Thanks so much for joining us tonight. My guest tonight, he's one of my go-to people, if not my very favorite go-to person for country music. There's nobody that knows more about country music. There's nobody that produces it better, and there's nobody that sings it better than my guest tonight. He's got a brand new album. It's called One Tear at a Time, the acoustic sessions from Heart of Texas Records. We're going to talk about this fabulous project and play a bunch of the songs for you tonight. It's always a pleasure to have Justin Trevino on My Kind of Country. Justin, how are you tonight?
Man, I'm doing great, and it's always a pleasure to be with you, so thank you for having me on.
Well, my honor. It's been a while. We were definitely due for a conversation today.
It has been a while. It really has.
I'm looking forward to seeing you guys at the CMA show in October down there in Houston at the Woodlands.
Houston? Yes, sir.
Yeah. We are looking forward to that. We're going to be down there with a whole bunch of people. I know you're going to be there, and Tracy's going to be there, and Jody Nix, and I think the Malpas brothers are going to be there.
I believe so. I don't have all the details myself, but and of course, our friend H.D. Ainsworth. I think he's the one that kind of told Mary Mentor about me and about Heart of Texas and all that kind of stuff. So.
He's a good one, and one of my dear friends, that's for sure. I know you're on his show a whole lot. He's great.
Yeah, I get up and listen to him in the mornings, and a lot of times I'll call him, and it'll start just with me and him talking. He'll go, "Well, let's go on the air," so we'll go on real quick. I don't ever want to wear out my welcome.
I highly doubt that. When you got somebody like HD that wants to talk about country music, I think you're in good company there, Well, buddy, you got a brand new album out with Heart of Texas Records, One Tear at a Time, JustinTrevino.com, HeartofTexasRecords.com, HillbillyHits.com, all sorts of places. We'll put that information on our Facebook page. The first song I got to talk about, I had no idea she could sing, and she sings very well. Our mutual friend and fellow DJ, Aaron Caldwell. Man,
yes.
How did that come about?
Well, I had written the first half of this song, "Cheating Was Good While It Lasted." And I was looking for a girl to help to write the second half.
Mm-hmm.
And so one day Aaron and I were talking about it, and I said, "Man, I've got this half a song that I need a duet partner to finish writing it, write the half from the female perspective." And so I sent it to her, and she wrote the back half, and she did such an incredible job of writing exactly what I felt like needed to be written. Like nobody could have done it any better. That when she sent that back to me, I said, "Man, you completely captured what I was looking for here, and I want you to sing it with me someday." When we've had it for, I don't know, maybe a year or two, just kind of sitting around. But I said, "Someday when I record this, I want you to be the one to sing it with me." And she had never really recorded professionally. She sent me some demos that she's recorded on her phone, but this was her first time to come into the studio and actually record a vocal for keeps. And I'm very, very grateful that she and I have this duet together.
Oh, she did a fabulous job. It's a beautiful song. You guys blend well together, and it's a great song. It's right in the pocket for hardcore country music, Man,
I'm really proud of it, and I'm proud of her. And like I said, man, nobody could have written the rest of that song any better.
That's fabulous. I just love Erin. She's such a great lady and fabulous show, and another one of those great voices for real country music that's out there,
Absolutely, yeah.
Well, this is an ambitious project, man. You got 20 songs on here. A little bit different arrangement. You've kind of gone with more of a stripped down version of a lot of these songs. And what was the meaning behind that for you?
I just wanted to do something a little different. My first love will always be that Johnny Bush sound. Ray Price, Johnny Bush, Farron Young, that kind of thing. And but I feel like every album I've made, which this is my 16th. So the other 15, and I think this is for me, it's something I'm proud of. I don't shy away from it. But the other 15 have all pretty much been that. haven't tinkered with it. I've always just done it straight up, country shuffles with twin fiddles and steel guitar, and I will continue to do that. But I just wanted to do something a little different, and these are songs. The vast majority of them, I would say, probably 16 out of the 20, are songs that I've sang all my life and never recorded, and they are the songs that I love to sing. If somebody hands me a guitar and says, "Here, sing one," a lot of times, and you're a singer yourself, so I know you understand. A lot of times, a country shuffle doesn't really come off without the full rhythm section.
Yeah.
And so these are kind of my go-to songs when I'm not singing shuffles, and if you'll remember, and I know you do because you saw a lot of them back during the pandemic in 2020. Tracy and I were doing Tracy Pitcox and I were doing Facebook Live just about every week.
Yeah.
And that I was singing on Facebook because, like I said, they're the ones that lend themselves to an acoustic treatment. And so once I got started, I actually just went in the studio one day. Of course, you know that I have the studio, so I've got the luxury of being able to go in there whenever I want to.
Yeah.
I went in the studio one day and just started putting down guitar tracks, and I thought, well, let me put this down. Before I knew it, I had 18 songs, and probably could have kept going. And I
I'm
thought,
sure.
well, I need to. I can't. I called Tracy. I said, man, this thing's going to have at least 19 songs on it. And then I thought, well, let's make it an even 20. I actually had planned there's a bonus track on this record. The one song that is full band is number 20. I think I'll go somewhere and cry myself to sleep.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, you know the song, old Bill Anderson classic. And I was going to recut it acoustically, but that version that I recorded, and that was back in 2003, when I recorded that with Dickie Overby and Bobby Flores. And of course, I was a lot younger, 21 years ago. I thought, man, there's no way that I'm going to do it any better than that. And that version has never really been heard, and I felt like it needed to be heard. And so rather than try to re-record that, I decided that I really wanted to put that recording. I tell you what happened on that deal. Back 21 years ago, we were working on the Scene of the Crying album.
Oh yeah.
And we recorded "Cry Myself to Sleep," intending to use it on that album, but I realized that I had too many ballads and too many slow songs, and those are always hard decisions to make.
Yeah.
And when you want to put them all on there,
Oh yeah.
And so I held that one back, and that's why it never really saw it. I'm not going to lie, it did come out. Our friend who passed away now, Dave Frainer, had a record label called Hillside Records,
Mm-hmm.
and he put out a compilation CD one time. I can't remember what it's called, but it's got Curtis Potter, Daryl McCall, myself, Ray Sanders, a bunch of different people that were on his label. And he asked me one time if I had anything to contribute to that compilation. And so I let him use 4 of those tracks of things that I had lying around. And so that track is on that compilation from a few years ago on Hillside, but it came out on that compilation, but it never got a whole lot of attention. And so I really feel like it needs to be on a Justin Trevino album so that people know where to find it.
Absolutely. Well, it's a nice capper for the end of the album,
I thought so.
Yeah.
I really did, and goodness gracious, man, Dickie and Bobby together, that was sheer magic. It just was, and we got to do that a lot.
Absolutely, you did. That's for sure. And I love that. You do so many of the great great songs that we know and love, but you've got some originals on here. And the thing, Justin, when you write songs and record them, to me they sound like instant classics. They sound like they belong right with all the stuff we grew up on, and they kind of become familiar, and they kind of get assimilated into my favorite songs.
That's a great compliment, and I try to write in that vein because, of course, that's the music that I love. And so, I've had guys tell me, and I think this is funny. I've had friends that especially younger friends that write that they say, "Man, I love traditional country, but every time I write a song, it sounds like a Red Dirt song." And then when I hear somebody tell me that, I'm thinking, well, then you're listening to too much Red Dirt for country. Yeah.
Ain't that the truth?
Yeah.
And that's a platform that I've always counted on with Heart of Texas Records. When you get a Heart of Texas record, it's going to be country music, and real country music. It's what hits my heart and soul. It's what I love to play on my show. And people say, well, nobody listens to that stuff anymore. Well, that's a load of crap, because there's a whole lot of stations out there like what we're doing that are playing this stuff that people just love it. And kids are discovering, the older artists, the older music. But there's also such a great selection of newer artists and music that are coming out that are traditional country, like your stuff, and people like Jason James and Dennis Ledbetter, Gary West. I mean, so many of these artists that are putting out really, really great stuff.
Absolutely.
And I don't see it going anywhere.
No, thank goodness. And if there's enough of us to continue to perform it and record it, and guys like yourself that give us the attention and the airplay that we need, and as long as there's an audience for it, we're in business.
Oh man, well, tell me about some of the other tracks. Healing Hands of Time. I love every time you sing that song. It's beautiful, and tell me about some of the standout tracks on this album.
Well, Healing Hands of Time has always been one of my favorite songs. Of course, it was written by Willie Nelson, and for years, Jim Lossberg and myself, we used to play. We had a trio. We would play in North Austin at a place called Buddy's Place every Wednesday night, and Healing Hands of Time was always one of those songs that I loved to do with Jim. We would pretty much just do the straight up Ray Price, version of it. And so I one time heard Willie Nelson in an interview say that it was his favorite song. Somebody pinned him down and said, "What's your favorite song that you've ever written?" And he started singing Healing Hands of Time. So, like I said, just because Jimmy and I have been playing it forever, I wanted to put it on this record. And I knew, again, that it would work acoustically.
Yeah.
So, other standout tracks for me, Windy City is my favorite song that Sonny and Bobby ever recorded, the Osborne Brothers.
Yeah.
And so a few years ago, Dana Cupp was down here working on another bluegrass project, and I asked him. I said, "Man, would you record Windy City with me while you're here?" And he graciously agreed to do it. So that one, I've had that track lying around for a few years. I can't remember what year he came down here, but I've had that track lying around, and so I went ahead and put the vocals on it, and this was a perfect album to put it on, and I'm really proud to have Dana on that with me. Also, Randy Lindley is playing the mandolin on that cut.
Wow, fabulous.
And then the rest of the players are the same players that are on the entire album. Grace Partridge on fiddle, Howard Douthey on bass, I'm playing the guitar, and who am I leaving out? Lossberg, Jimmy Lossberg. So Windy City, a song that I wrote for Curtis Potter that Curtis never got to cut, called "What If the Tables Were Turned." I thought that turned out really
Oh, I love that. That's one of my favorites right there. I love that song.
I always wanted to hear Curtis sing it, and he was going to record it. I had sent it to him, and he had the demo, and he was going to cut it, and we just never got to do it. So,
that's too bad.
The one you mentioned with Aaron, "Cheating Was Good While It Lasted." There's a song on here that was written by Bill Anderson, Bobby Tomberlin, and Walt Aldridge, called "Right About Now." and that was kind of the little nudge that I needed to make this record a reality. I'd kind of been thinking, yeah, I'm going to make an acoustic record someday, you know, and I emailed Bill when I'd kind of, like I said, I'd kind of gone in the studio and cut all these tracks just kind of one day, you know. It was something I knew I was going to do, but I really wasn't in a hurry. Mm-hmm. And I emailed Bill, and I said, man, I'm thinking about making an acoustic record. Do you have anything? And he suggested Cry Myself to Sleep. And and the first thing he said in the email, in his reply, he said, I think your fans would love an acoustic album. Have you ever thought about recording I Think I'll Go Somewhere and Cry Myself to Sleep? And he didn't know that I had cut it 20 years ago. And he said, also, I have a new song that I'll send you that nobody's recorded yet. And it's called Right About Now. And he sent me that song, and I fell in love with it. I called Tracy, and I said, well, it's on now. I said, there's no way I'm going to turn down that song, and I got to do this. I got to make it happen. So that was kind of the encouragement that I needed to get serious about getting this thing done. And I do love the song Right About Now. Like I said, there's three writers, Bill and Bobby Tomberlin, and a gentleman named Walt Aldridge, who I'll admit I'm not very familiar with. But Bill sent word to me. He told Bobby, he said, hey, be sure to tell Justin there's a third writer on this. And so made sure that they all got credit, you know.
That's great.
But, so Right About Now, the title song, One Tear at a Time, was written by me and Deanne McCall. Oh. And we wrote that back in, I think, 2005. She and I wrote about 13 songs together. She stayed with me and my wife at our house for about 6 weeks back in 2005. And during that time that she was staying with us, we wrote 13 songs. And One Tear at a Time is one of those. Rainbow Colored Words is a song that Johnny Bush wrote and recorded. And I thought our version of it turned out really pretty. Grace played some wonderful fiddles on that. Man, I've got a bunch of them.
Yeah.
If you'll hold the ladder, it's cut number 2, and that's a song that Johnny Bush fell in love with when he heard Robert Duvall sing it in the movie Tender Mercies.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
And I fell in love with John's recording of it. John recorded it in 1986, and that was my introduction to it. Then after he told me where it came from, I went back and looked that up. But you know, I still, the Johnny Bush version is still kind of my frame of reference for that song.
Yeah.
And it's another one of those that I always love to sing when I'm sitting around picking, you know. So those are some of the ones for me that really stand out.
Good stuff. You know, Jealousy Insane. I was surprised. Have you not recorded that song before?
You know what? If anybody would know, you would know. Now get this. My very first album was cassette only. It was called King of Clubs, and it was 1990. I was 17 years old.
Wow. That
was about the time I met Johnny Bush, and I recorded Jealously Insane on that cassette tape. And so naturally, when I met John, you know, I handed him that, and he thanked me for recording his song. I'm this green kid, you know, but John, as you know, he and I became very close. But right from the get-go, he always treated me like I belonged, and he said, "Man, thank you for cutting my song," you know. And so yes, I did record it, but nobody knows because it's never been out on a CD, and so technically, this is the second time that I recorded that song. But the reason I recorded it this time is back in 2019, John wrote a second verse, and he started doing it on stage with the added verse. But as everybody knows, he passed away in 2020, and he never got to record the extended version. I'm probably the only person that remembers the words to it, and I felt like I needed to get that down for him while I could still remember it, and
That's
so it
really
wouldn't be
cool.
lost to the stands the time.
That's awesome. Yeah, he told me about that. I did his last interview just not long before he passed away, a month or two before he passed away. He told me about that, and so I'm really glad you did that.
He called me one day. He said, "Man, I always thought Jealously Insane needed another verse." He said, "I've written one. See what you think about this." And he started singing, "Someone in your past has poisoned you. Now I must feel the hurt he's put you through. Lies and deceit is the devil's game. Why must you be so jealously insane?" It sounds like it's been there all along, you know.
Yeah.
I think we all have a tendency to try to attach meaning to whatever it is that we do. And I decided years ago that was kind of the thing that was going to make me continue to record. You know, let's not kid ourselves. I knew when I was a kid that I was not going to be mainstream. I knew what mainstream country had turned into. So don't get me wrong. I've always done everything I can to try to advance my career and maintain a career and further my career. I want to reach as many people as I can. But in the end, the driving force, this is what I'm going to leave behind someday when I'm gone. And I hope it matters, you know.
Well, it matters to a whole lot of us, buddy, and that's one of the things that I've always been really proud of is the fact that, you know, you are just so steeped in country music, and I in passing I mentioned at the beginning of the interview that you're kind of my go-to person for country, but I don't think there's anybody that's more knowledgeable about sessions, about, you know, when something was recorded, what album it was on, who played on it, than you. I mean, it's encyclopedic, and you're a man after my own heart. That's my passion. I love that stuff. You know?
You and I share that. We do, and so does Tracy Pitcock. So does H.D. Ainsworth. We're all kind of cut from the same cloth. And anything, if I don't know, I can go to one of you guys, and I can always count on one of you guys to, hey, you can say, oh yeah, that was you know, written by Hank Cochran and recorded on this Charlie Walker album right here.
Yep.
So.
Yep. I love that. That's great. Well, I am so happy to be able to share this great music with my listeners tonight. The album is called One Tear at a Time, The Acoustic Sessions. Justin Trevino. It's available at heartoftexasrecords.com and all the places that we stream our music. You can get a physical copy there at the website. We'll have that information on our Facebook page, and we're going to play a whole bunch of these cuts for you right now. And Justin, I'm going to put you on the spot because every time I hear you on HD show, you always got a good joke to tell. You got to share one with me today.
Oh, my goodness. Ooh, I hadn't even been thinking along those lines. A good joke. I know you play that song that me and Cornell wrote. I think I can get away with this. So, years ago, Jim Lossberg and I were in Ruidoso together. We would go every year for the Lincoln County Cowboy Symposium. And a lot of times we would room together. So one afternoon, we had got checked into the hotel room, and we went down to the grocery store. We were going to get some stuff for the room, just some snacks and some drinks and that kind of thing. And there was in the parking lot, there was 2 golf balls just laying there in the parking lot. So Jim picked them up, and he just stuck them in his front pocket, in his hip pocket. And we get the stuff that we needed, and we get to the counter to pay. And the cashier was this little old lady, and she's just staring at Jim's pocket, at that bulge there in his pocket, trying to figure out. And finally, she said, "Sir, I don't mean to be rude, but what is that?" Jim said, "Golf balls." She said, "Oh," she said, "that must hurt. I've had tennis elbow. I know how bad that is."
Oh, boy. You never disappoint, buddy. Oh, HD always, man, he still talks about that genitalia of a fool song.
Well, he plays it. You know, I have to joke about it because I thought I was going to live that song down, and then he heard you play it, and he started playing it, and so it's still around.
Well, I'm going to bring it back every once in a while, so you can count on that. I'm never going to let you live that down, buddy. Oh, man. Well, Justin, as always, thank you so much for taking time to be on the show. It's a pleasure, and I just love the new album, and I know my listeners are going to love it. We're going to play a bunch of the songs, one tier at a time, the acoustic sessions. Justin Trevino, Heart of Texas Records. Get yourself a copy and listen to this great country music. Thanks again, my friend. I appreciate your time.
Thank you, Scott. It's always a pleasure to visit with you, either on the air or off the air, so stay in touch with me.
Amen. Looking forward to seeing you in October, too, by gosh.
Yes, definitely.
All right. Take care. Thank you.